good morning, federal employees, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to yet another episode with me, your host. It is so good to spend a little time with you this morning. And I have to first, before I get into today's topic, I have to address the question I've been getting just all the time in the comment section on YouTube, okay? And if you're on the podcast, you probably haven't noticed this, but on YouTube, you've probably noticed that my clock in the background here, you see it? You probably have noticed the last few months, I have been recording these at exactly 10 minutes past 10 every single time. Well, no, I'm just kidding. I'm actually just kidding because a lot of comments have been saying, hey, your clock's broken. Hey, your clock is broken, right? Well, I have to be honest. I didn't like the ticking, okay, so I took the battery out. So the reason that it's at 10:10 every single time you watch a video of mine, at least over the last few months, is because I took the battery out, okay? I did not like the ticking in my office here. So guess what? It's going to be 10:10 for the foreseeable future, unless I decide to get a new clock or something, whatever. It's going to be 10:10, so just get used to it. If you're on the podcast, and you are spared from seeing the same clock in the same time every single video. So with that intro, let's jump right into our topic today, and that is taking TSP loans and the 3 times that it is okay, or that it is probably the best decision to use the TSP as a source of funds over other options, okay? Because in general, I have very mixed feelings about the TSP and taking loans out of it. In general, I believe TSP loans are used too quickly, okay? They're misused. People take money out of their TSP when they probably shouldn't. But with that being said, there are definitely 3 times that it does make sense, where having access to your TSP in really some tough times can really save you a lot of trouble when it comes to being financially prepared, okay? But before we dig into those 3 different times that it does make sense to take money out of your TSP, we have to first address the 2 different types of ways that you first can take money out of your TSP, right? It's not just a TSP loan. There's actually what they call in-service withdrawals, okay? Basically, what those are, there's, of course, loans, and then there's in-service withdrawals. Within in-service withdrawals, there's actually 2 types, okay? There's age-based service withdrawals, which basically means you're over 59 and a half, okay? And then there's a hardship-based in-service withdrawals, basically saying, hey, you have a financial hardship, so that's why you're taking money out. Now, the big thing you have to know about in-service withdrawals, whether it's age-based or hardship withdrawals, the one big thing you have to know is it's not a loan, right? You're taking money out for good, and you will have to pay taxes if you're taking out taxable portions, okay? And if you're under 59 and a half, you will also owe the 10% penalty that comes along with taking money out of retirement accounts when you're still working and under age 59 and a half, okay? So that's a big thing to know, is that in-service withdrawals have some major drawbacks, okay? Now, that is why people prefer the loan. First, you end up putting money back in your TSP, and second, you don't have to pay taxes, and there's no 10% penalty. So what's not to love, right? With the TSP loan, if you don't already know, you actually do pay interest. When you take the loan, you do pay interest, but the interest is actually paid to you, right? So let's say you take $10,000 out of your TSP to do whatever, okay? When you pay that back, you can do it in chunks every pay period. You could do that, or you could do it all at once, or in however you want to do it. You can split it up however you want. But you do have to pay interest, okay? And it's set based on the return of the G fund. And right now it's ridiculously low based on when I'm recording this. It is March. And the interest rate on the G fund is like 1.37 or something. So the interest rate is very low on the G fund, and you pay it, but it goes straight into your TSP account. So you're not paying in, you're just paying yourself, okay? Now, the major cost outside of the $50 loan fee that comes with taking a TSP loan, which is minimal, the true cost of taking a TSP loan is the fact that money is not in your TSP and it is not growing. Okay, that is the cost. And if you have a TSP loan outstanding for a decent amount of time, this can make a significant impact, right? Because let's say you take 10 grand out. Well, that 10 grand wasn't in the TSP this last year to earn, let's say, 15% or whatever it would have earned based on your investment returns. Okay, that 15% now is not going to continue to grow over the next 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, during your career and into retirement. So the net difference of that TSP loan can be significant, okay? It can be very significant. So just because you're paying the interest and it goes to yourself, there is a cost, and the cost is you're not getting that growth. Now, like I said, even with that being said, there are 3 times that it does make sense to use the TSP, and let's dig right in. Now, the first one is when someone is extremely serious. They are serious about getting rid of high interest debt, okay? Let's say someone is going through a Dave Ramsey program or something where they are trying to nail down their high interest debt. They're trying to get rid of it. Well, if you have credit cards, let's say, with an interest rate of 15, 20, 25%, and you're really trying to get rid of them, then in some cases, if there's no other funds available, it may make sense to take money out of your TSP, at least in the short term, to get that paid off, right? Now, let me add a huge disclaimer. We have to make sure we are not just fighting symptoms here. We have to make sure we are fighting the problem, the real problem, okay? And if our spending habits are such that we are going to continue getting into debt, whether it's credit card or other high interest debt, then we are just fighting symptoms if we take money out of our TSP, okay? So that is why I say you have to be committed to getting rid of your credit card debt forever, okay? I'm not saying you can't use a credit card. I'm just saying you don't want to have a balance. You don't want to be paying that high interest. And so if you plan on taking money out of your TSP and a loan, it may make sense to do so to get rid of some credit card debt. But you have to make sure your spending is such so that you are not just in a perpetual cycle and now you're just finding a good excuse to take money out of your TSP because, hey, there's money there, right? You want to make sure it's all going to work out and you are on the right track and not going to be having more high interest debt in the future. Now, that's number 1. Number 2. Number 2 is when you have a medical emergency with a high deductible health plan. For those that are unfamiliar, a high deductible health plan, as the name suggests, has a high deductible, meaning when you have some serious medical issues, whether it's you or someone in your family, then the deductible is on you, right? And you have to pay that amount before the insurance really starts kicking in. And so with a high deductible plan, that can get very expensive. And in an ideal situation, everyone has savings for that. And the most ideal situation, you're using an HSA or a health savings account with a high deductible plan, okay? And if you are, then you get tremendous tax advantages to save into an HSA. And then when you take money out of an HSA, it comes out tax-free too. So there's tremendous tax advantages to using an HSA, and if you have a high deductible plan, definitely look into it. It's often a no-brainer for many, many people, but look into it, see if it makes sense for you. And so let's say you don't have savings though, and you don't have an HSA, and you need money to pay these medical bills, this deductible, right? Well, in some cases, it may make sense to take money out of your TSP to get that paid off. And the reason is some people, when they can't pay the deductible, well, sometimes when they have these bills that aren't paid and they go to collections or whatever it is, it can really kill their credit, right? And we don't want that. We don't want to kill your credit in the name of never touching your TSP, right? So you want to find a happy medium sometimes, say, hey, I can't afford to pay this deductible any other way. Maybe I'm just going to take a little out of my TSP that I'm going to pay back. It's a loan. TSP loan is a loan. I'm going to pay back over the next however long and not have this health expense, this medical expense affect my credit. Something to think about. Again, you want to be careful before touching retirement accounts, but if that is the best option, then that is the best option. Okay. Next, the last and third option, and it is directly related to the others, is when you have bad credit. When you have bad credit and a emergency expense comes up, well, where can you go for funding? Ideally, again, do you have an emergency fund? If you don't, start working on one, okay? Have an emergency fund. That's the first place to go when there's emergencies, right? Now, if you don't have an emergency fund and you have bad credit, well, where can you go for funding? Well, it's hard to get funding at a decent interest rate when your credit is bad, right? That puts you in a hard spot. So where can you go? Well, you could do credit cards again, and then you're back in that same cycle of high interest debt. And you can't really do a HELOC often because your credit's bad and you won't get good rates either. And so what do? Well, sometimes it may make sense to take out your TSP. If the alternative is getting, again, some very high interest debt that you're going to be paying 15-20%, right? It may make sense, take some money out of your TSP, pay the 1 point whatever percent to yourself, and call it a day, right? Just make sure you get that money back in the TSP as soon as you possibly can, and then come up with a plan so that you are not in that position again. That is the goal. You want to come up with a plan so that when this happens again, because emergencies happen. You don't know when, but they're going to happen. They are. It's just a matter of being prepared for them financially, right? So whatever you have to do in the short term, take care of it. Whether it's touching your TSP, get your life in order, whatever it is, okay? But make a plan, have a plan so that when this happens again, and it will, you are prepared, whether it's with an emergency fund, an HSA, whatever it is, so that you are prepared for the unexpected. Because the unexpected is unpredictable, but the predictable part is that it generally happens just a matter of time. Okay, be prepared. And if nothing happens, awesome, you got some savings, right? That's a great place to be. Now, I mentioned a HELOC or a home equity line of credit, and often if your credit is good, you can get some great rates when it comes to a HELOC. And using that as kind of a backup emergency fund can be a great option, right? Because if first the interest rate's not bad, then you could keep your money in the TSP and let it grow, right? You can let it grow over time and make sure that you are still prepared for retirement, right? I have seen retirements being pushed back because people have tapped into their TSP too much with the TSP loan or whatever else, and they are unprepared for when they would like to retire, right? And they're just not in the financial position that they'd like to be because of these little decisions along the way. So I hope that was helpful. Have an incredible rest of your day. And if you have any more questions about the TSP loan, put in the comments below. I'll do my best. I can't read all comments. I can't answer all the comments, but I'll do the very best I can. I hope this is helpful to really help you get the most out of your TSP, your federal benefits, and to retire confident. So have an incredible rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.